You and I have a decision to make. It's a big decision. It is the decision about how we use our power. Now, power isn't bad, whether it's the strength of our wealth, or popularity, or position. We can use power for great good, but with power comes great responsibility. Let's look at two different people and how they used their power, because there's kind of two basic approaches, I think. And to do that, I'm going to tell a story I once told some of our boys and girls. It's a story of the king and the peasant girl. And for this, I've asked for 2 volunteers to help us out. Once upon a time, there was a king who fell in love with a peasant girl. I mean, how could you not? And the king thought, I'd like her to want to marry me. How will I do that? And the king thought, well, I'm really rich. I'll get my most fancy clothes, and when I put those on, that will impress her. But then what if that didn't work? So the king thought, I know. I'll make a rule, which said, marry me. But what if she breaks the rule? Then the king thought, I know what. I'll get some soldiers on horseback, and we'll ride right up to her house, and I'll point my sword at her and say, marry me. And the king thought about that. Now, the king was really a good guy, and he knows that's not what love is. He wanted what was best for her. He hoped that he would love her, but he didn't want her to do it because of his money or because she felt like she had to. So he thought and thought and thought, and the king did the most amazing thing. The king decided to become like her, a peasant himself, and he quit being the king. And he put away his sword and left behind his money so others could use it for good things. And he became a peasant himself and just hoped she would love him. How does the story end? We don't know. Now, just so you know, the king was making the decision about how to use his power. And while we kind of like that point, which could make people do stuff that we want, he wasn't doing that. She was free. And we don't know how it ended. And here's why. In this story, our king is Jesus. And Jesus wants us to love him and to be like him. But our king said, I'm not going to force them. That's not the way to do it. And our King Jesus decided to not be the king either, but to become who we are. And hope that people would see that that is the way to be. To be loving and kind is the way to be happy. And volunteers, I want you to take a look at our King. Turn around and look up at the cross. There is our King. Our King stayed loving and true. He didn't force anybody to be any way. But he made so much difference because the power that makes the most difference in the world is love. And that's what Jesus chose. And that power is in you, and that power is in you, and that power is in me. In just a minute, I'm going to send you back. And our King says, I hope that you will be loving and kind. I hope that you will be like me, but you're free. Go love the world. Thanks, you guys. The decision of how we will use our power is crucial. Doing it the way God does is so difficult. Part of us thinks we should be able to make people do things the way we want, choose our power to force people. That's never how God does it. It's hard for us, but when we do it like God did, we who are made in God's image and likeness, it's when we are most who we truly are. And if you are kind of discouraged these days by your sense of powerlessness, that you're staying loving and true and people are making decisions that are harmful to themselves or to others and they just aren't loving, and you did the best you can, you know that powerlessness, you get God, and God gets you. And in the end, love is the greatest power of all. Force can do many things, but only love can change a person's heart. Our King set aside his crown and walks among us today. Will we love him? Will we choose his way? It's the most important question. It's a lovely story. We don't know the end because how it ends depends on us and what we decide.